Hey, this is Glenn. Welcome to another episode of Difficult Questions. This one, what is grief? So my dad just died, and that means I have no parents left. My mom passed away in 2018. I grew up in a pretty stoic family, so always control your emotions. Parents were moderately greatly cynical, especially my dad. So everybody dies, right? People die, things go on. And I have been walking away from relationships my whole life. It's just something, if I don't really agree or feel right, I just have no problem moving on. And with all those things combined, I've been really good at controlling my emotions. I say that I live on top of the mountain a lot. I try to live on top of the mountain and try to make sense of the world and make sense of feelings and actions of people, including my own. And I've been really good at it. I kind of rationalize emotion away into something that I can control. But when my mom died, there was just this sadness that would come and go uncontrollably, and it would overtake me, and I couldn't do anything else but be in the grips of sadness. And the same thing, to a lesser degree, maybe because I'm used to it now, is happening with my dad passing. And so I just wanted to explore what that is. Because is it the feeling of loss you have for someone you like? Is it sadness that they are gone? Is it the sadness of loss of that interaction of those people? I remember when my mom was sick and she requested that I come up probably for the last time that I'd visit her. And I went up, and once she went to sleep, or once I was going to leave the hospital, I had this overwhelming sense that I just had to get away from everybody. And I've never felt that really before. My parents always made fun of my grandfather because when he got overwhelmed, he would go for a walk. And then my family would also make fun of my dad because whenever he got overwhelmed emotionally or in a family situation, he would go for these long walks. And I've never really done that because I can't rationalize walking away from people physically. Ultimately, I'll back away from a relationship, but to walk out seemed kind of, well, my grandfather and my father got made fun of for it, so I wasn't going to do that. But when the last time I'd probably visit my mom after leaving the hospital, I had this compelling feeling that I just had to walk. I had to walk. What is that? Why? So I walked from the hospital to my parents' house, probably 5-6 miles. And I felt better. Why? Why did I feel better? And at my mother's service, there were people that wanted to be there and wanted to be part of me. And I realized they were grieving for their loss of someone they liked. My mother was a mover and shaker in the community. So she was this hugely public figure, loved by many. And when she passed, everyone just wanted to surround me. And I found that very overwhelming because it wasn't me they wanted. They wanted a piece of my mother that was left in me. And they were grieving for them. I realized they were grieving for their loss, not the loss of my mother's life. And so when I'm looking at my myself, and I'm thinking, well, what makes me sad about my mother passing? Now, what makes me sad about my father passing? Is it the idea that no one else will love me unconditionally? Because as my father said, you didn't choose to be born. They chose, my parents chose, so they have to like me. Now, is it a concern that what if no one else likes me? Maybe because I do walk away from so many relationships. Now there's this concern that I will be alone in the world. But when I live on top of the mountain, I know I am alone in the world. I've known that my whole life. Growing up with that cynicism, growing up with the knowledge that you ultimately die alone, that is a solo experience. My grandfather was in hospice, and I helped him die, basically. I watched him, I closed his eyes. So I know death, and I know it. I can rationalize it with other people. Why do I have this uncontrollable grief that comes in and out that makes no sense? Why it comes and why it goes. I can't push it away. I can't rationalize it away. What is that? Why is that happening? What in a human being is emotion, and what triggers that emotion? Even when you try to rationalize everything away, even when you are good at never embracing emotions. And I can't even think of something like, maybe I've heard of people in war that have really close relationships. You got my back, I got yours. They really grieve that loss. I mean, my parents and I weren't in war, so I can't say that, but maybe that's it, because there's that bond of, hey, I made you, so we are responsible in this life together. Even though I left home when I was 24 and never moved back, so that's been 25, 26 years. So that isn't something I grieve. I mean, that was a long time ago, leaving my parents' home. I don't know. What do you think? What is grief? Thanks.